Hi, I'm Matt, here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. Springtime is in the air and summer's on the way, so Matt and I thought, hey, probably time to do a baseball film. It's worth mentioning that we have kind of gone into baseball before. We did reviews of The Sandlot as well as A League of Their Own last year, so make sure to check those out if you are into baseball. But we're going to kick off this summertime with 1988's Bull Durham. Bull Durham stars Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon, and Tim Robbins. It is written and directed by Ron Shelton, who is most well known for other notable sports films, White Men Can't Jump, and my all-time favorite golf movie, Tin Cup. But before we get into the actual review, make sure if you like this video, you give it a like. If you want to see more, you subscribe and ring that bell icon so that way you always know when we're uploading our latest videos.
Now, Bull Durham is about a minor league baseball groupie who selects one player each season to help them reach their baseball potential. Now, while trying to mold a rookie pitcher, she finds herself falling for a veteran catcher nearing the end of his career who is also tasked with helping the young pitcher. Now, this movie had a $7.5 million budget and earned more than $58 million. Today, that would be about a $16.5 million budget and nearly $129 million in earnings. Bull Durham is critically acclaimed and has an audience score in the 80s on Rotten Tomatoes. At one point, it was the best reviewed sports movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and Sports Illustrated called this the greatest sports movie of all time. All right, Randall, this was my first time actually seeing this movie, though I'm pretty sure you've seen this in the past, maybe a few times or whatever, especially considering it was done by the creator Tim Cup or whatever, so I know how much you like that movie. So, Randall, what do you think about Bull Durham?
Now I know what everyone's thinking. Kevin Costner in a baseball movie. Who'd have thunk it? But in all honesty, this might be one of his kind of like stealth, relatively stealth, I guess, baseball films. And watching it through this time was still extremely satisfying. It is a lot of fun to watch. The characters are entertaining. They are so different and diametrically opposed from one another. Like you have Susan Sarandon's character, who is this super confident, will take charge, knows what she wants type of woman, and you have on the other side Kevin Costner's character, and then in between both of them, this young hotshot pitcher. It is a really good baseball film, but also has some good comedic moments with this cast. I really liked it, but Matt, first view for you, what do you think?
Yeah, I was actually surprised a bit by the premise of this movie. This is not what I was expecting really at all. All I knew was kind of like, all right, there's like a love story, and then it's about baseball, and maybe there's like comedy into it too. So I guess that's what I was going in. But yeah, when I was first hearing like Nanny and narrate or whatever the story and stuff, I'm like, wow, this is not what I was expecting. But yes, Kevin Costner and especially Susan Sarandon did excellent job in their portrayals in this film. They, top notch or whatever. But Randall, let's get to the point of it. What is the real reason that we're reviewing this movie? It isn't because of baseball or whatever. Is it something that Kevin Costner has in this film?
You know, I just I can't quite put my finger on it, but if I'm honest, who doesn't want to drive off into the sunset in a Shelby Mustang? A classic Shelby Mustang. Yeah, no. Honestly, great car, but we are watching it because of baseball season coming around the corner. And it's an interesting thing because, this is a minor league team. And one of the things that the film gets so right about baseball, like so right, is the slog, like the everything, the long road trips, and everyone just getting mentally broken down and beaten, and then fantastically correct, even more correct than everything else, is the over superstitiousness of baseball players. What? Do not mess with the streak. Always never step on the line when you're going out to the field. You always step over the line. Stuff like that's all here. So like the fun, weird, quirky things about baseball, especially minor league baseball, are exactly as you expect them, including Annie's character. Every minor league baseball team has its groupies.
Yes, I really love what Kevin Costner's character, Crash really brings to this. He gives you a lot of insight into like baseball too, because this is a minor league team. These are a bunch of players that are hoping to be able to play in the big show at one day. And he's a character. His character has actually been in the major leagues, even if it was only for like 20, 21 days or so. But he basically gives these younger players and stuff, or players that haven't reached that level yet, a glimpse into what that life is really like.
The hotels all have room service. And the women all have long legs and brains.
He shows all, the glimmering glass, the nice hotel rooms and stuff and everything like that, but also kind of shows the other side of it, the pressure of playing in the major leagues, different things that's going over, showing that, hey, it's great and stuff, it's the greatest time ever, but there's some other things that go to that. And I think it's really, really good. I think some of the best parts in this, not just, the Kevin Costner and Susan Sarandon stuff, but I think a lot of heart and stuff in this movie is between the Nuke Crash relationship. I think is really good. The little insight and stuff in there, I think, is a good part of this movie.
Yeah, Nuke is Tim Robbins' character, the young hotshot pitcher, and he's got the $1 million arm, as the saying goes. But he just can't keep it together. Like he overthinks everything. He just needs to relax and just pitch. Kevin Costner's character is literally brought in to tutor him, to give him some things, and it's funny. He has a way to do it. He's a catcher. The catcher-pitcher relationship is extremely strong, and he's like, I'm gonna call the signs, and you're gonna throw the pitch that I want you to pitch. And he's like, no, I'm gonna pitch whatever I want. But like every time he tries it, he's just like, Kevin Costner's character is down there. It's like, this is the pitch that's coming. He's gonna bring the heater. He's breaking ball. If he doesn't listen and do what the catcher says, do what Crash tells him to, he's gonna make him pay for it. And on the other side of that spectrum of just like getting Nuke to not be so nukish, I guess, is Susan Sarandon's character, who's just trying to get him to relax and feel good and just not think about the game, give him something else to think about, basically. And anyone who's seen the film knows what he should be thinking about, basically. But interesting, off screen, you had a little comment where you're like, hey, I think that Tim Robbins' character is kind of like the corridor for the actual story, which is really getting our main characters, quote unquote, of Crash and Annie together. And I kind of thought, well, no, the story's about Nuke primarily. I think now that I've seen it several times and you've said that, I might actually lean more towards what you said. Yeah, the real story is about Crash and Annie.
Yeah, I love that these characters, they have the same goal, but they kind of have, different approaches because they're approaching, the same thing from different areas. Like you were kind of hinting at, they're both trying to, change his mindset and everything. And, one of the our first thing that we see of Tim Robbins' character in this or whatever is when he's, hooking up with, I guess you would say, another groupie or whatever, Millie and stuff or whatever. And then, she goes and she talks to Susan Sarandon. Susan Sarandon, it's kind of Annie's is like, how was he kind of thing. And she's like,
well, he like he pitches sort of all over the place.
And I think that's a big part of this movie is basically to show how much like your mindset, affects like your life and then also how it affects your baseball. So I think that's a good way that it's kind of tying in all those elements together. And that's why they're both able to take different approaches. Annie's kind of taking more of like a lifestyle, like changed life. Like she has these weird different things she does. She makes him wear something or when he pitches, or she's always talks about, what is it? They keep going back like the iguana or the lizard or whatever breathing out of your eyeball, and they're always like, is that Aztec or Mayan or whatever?
He says his chakras are jammed. He's having trouble breathing out of his left eyelid?
Right eyelid.
Right eyelid.
She's good, ain't taking to that approach, whereas Costner's, using his experience as a baseball player and knowing the game from that angle to try to teach this pitcher and stuff too. So yeah, I think those two sides, together. And honestly, I mean, if the big part is really bringing, Susan Sarandon and Kevin Costner's character together, I mean, I'm happy for both of them if them being together makes them happy. But to be honest with you, to me, I wasn't really big on like the Kevin Costner Susan Sarandon thing. Like, I understand that's what the movie's about, that's what the movie is going to and stuff. But when they actually are kind of together or whatever kind of thing, I don't know that that's really, my best part of this movie.
What is interesting is once Nuke starts listening and starts figuring out that maybe both of these approaches are the approach he needs to take, where it can't just be all baseball like Crash is trying to tell him, and it can't just be all lifestyle like Annie's trying to tell him, that he's got to kind of come to like a middle ground with himself, calm down, and just be confident in his abilities. That's where the movie kind of has, the 1980s montage moment of just the team succeeding. This is the best they've done in a long time, finally. It is interesting, but you got to the point where you're like, hey, maybe I don't really buy into Crash and Annie's character, but at the same time, I like that Crash and Annie end up together because they do have an attraction almost instantly to one another. It's not fulfilled yet. It's like Annie's not quite there and not ready, and Crash is like, well, no, I'm not gonna be anyone's like, one season stand, basically.
Damn, nobody's ever said no to a date with me before.
So it's not until they both maybe take a little bit of their own teachings from each other that it becomes something that is fulfilled. And that's where you get to the ending. And I liked that in this film, where they're not ready for each other at the beginning, even though they're attracted to each other. But by the end of the film, they've both given their teachings to Nuke, and he's off to the majors, and they've both learned and grown themselves, and they can be themselves comfortable with each other finally. And Annie doesn't have to go find someone every year, and Crash is like, you know what? I think I'm done. I'm done playing the game right now. He's finally found a spot for himself. So I'm perfectly okay with it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's my thinking, too. My main point is just that I don't know that necessarily, I like the relationship, but I like the fulfillment that each character gets from that. It is the logical conclusion to come together. And like you said, all those points you brought up, it's just, I agree with it. It just strengthens each of those individual characters to show their growth through the film to get to that point where, they're together. I just, like I said, that being the thing of, them together, I know that I enjoyed quite as much. But yes, it definitely works for the movie. This is what the movie builds up to, and it definitely completes both of those characters' story arcs.
I 100% agree with what Matt said. This movie has, in my opinion, held up very, very well. I do think there's maybe a couple of jokes that don't land like you would have expected them to at the time. But let us know what you guys think about this one. And of course, make sure to check out our YouTube page so that way you can see all the other stuff that we have. We have flashback reviews, we have new movie reviews, TV reviews, and some longer conversations with our call-up episodes. But for now, I'm Randall here in Texas. See everyone next time.
And I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a good day, everyone. Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.